Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to another session of the Living World of Darkness, New York by Night, in the Camarilla and Anarch venue. Tonight, post the raid on the cruise liner, Lauren is most likely minding her own business, maybe heading back to the Chantry or wherever she might be heading when she gets a text from the sheriff asking to meet with her. If it's convenient, you get the feeling that it's more of it's less of a command, more of a request. But it's an address in southwest Harlem.
On her way back to the Chantry, while Lauren was already sort of zigzagging across town in her car as she'd been instructed to before heading back to the Chantry, she checked her phone at a red light because she's a bad person and sort of sighs. All right then. And she will turn around and head to the address.
Okay. This is a relatively nice part of Harlem. You're sort of passing through, I suppose, Clubland on the way down here. So there's lots of sort of more upmarket looking bars and that kind of thing. Going a little bit south of there, in a slightly more residential area, you find yourself coming into. Oh, it's not a rough part of town. You know, it looks like it could use a little love, and there's a house which looks. I mean, it's there's activity. Like there's a few people sort of like dotted around, and you can see sort of shadows in the windows and that kind of thing. Other than that, it's quite a sort of dark sort of area. And yeah, it's I would assume you. I don't know. It's but I wouldn't like to assume anything. I don't know if you've got any street that just looks dodgy. Huh?
Assuming I'm not going to go on a murder spree immediately. Lauren will park in an alleyway nearby and head into the building.
Okay. You are taken inside, and it's I mean it's a woman who's she's not wearing like sort of like trashy lingerie or anything, but could be wearing more clothes. Sort of looks you up and down and then tells you to head all the way up the stairs. It's like a 3-story building. And knock when you get to the room up there.
Okay, thank you. And she'll tip her, like put a $20 bill in her hand and not in her bra because she respects women.
Thanks, sugar.
And she'll head upstairs.
Okay. You see you hear a few locks on the door turn after like a peephole is slid back, and it's the door opens and Limey stood there. He's wearing a suit, which is weird because you see him wearing loads of sort of vagrant clothes recently, and it looks like he's just wearing this in his spare time. And yeah, he sort of gives you a small, bored-looking smile. Lauren, thanks for coming.
Hey, what did you want to see me about? Lauren is not wearing the exact same thing she wore in the dock. She changed in her car, but it's still fairly casual clothes. She looks pale as a ghost. Paler than normal.
He sort of looks her up and down and then just sort of nudges the door closed. And turns a few locks. This room there is a red light, but other than that, there's like a small record player in the corner. It looks like a portable thing, and it has there's some quite slow tempo, smooth jazz playing. Sounds like Chet Baker if you have an ear for it. but yeah, it's sort of a low kind of bed, like it's relatively Soho, um, and he sort of like gestures to a small sort of like coffee table with a couple of Art Deco sofas next to them.
She'll actually take the time to point him out. Be like, "Ooh, vintage."
Uh, well, I may be on the run, but I like to have my little home comforts.
No, it's an art style I'm particularly fond of, actually.
Oh, really? Well, sort of my era, I suppose. Never knew much about it, but I like the way it looks.
She laughs a bit. I made plans to visit the Bauhaus before I came here. They sort of fell through.
Huh. Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
No big deal. Hopefully it'll be standing for a little while longer. She smiles.
One would hope. Yeah, please take a seat. No, it's nothing important. I just wanted to check in, really. You're quite new and you've been quite busy.
Yeah. I like to make myself useful.
Tell me about what you've been getting up to.
Um, nothing particularly new. I I created a what do you call them here? The humans who drink your blood. What is the word for it? It was
Cool.
right. He had one of those. Secured the warehouse. Purchased these supplies to fortify the warehouse, and mapped out some domain for the premiere.
Oh my, you have been busy.
I like to keep busy. Oh, and reading. Lots and lots of reading.
Well, you are a Tremere after all.
She nods.
He sort of looks her up and down and almost gauges her reaction at that before sort of nodding his head.
She doesn't seem offended or off put or anything. She figured it was a given. She's a Tremere, so she reads books. Limey's a Bruja, so he commits murder. That's
Oh, Faye. um, he sort of scratches the very slight stubble on his chin. He sort of lights up like half of what smells not to be tobacco and starts smoking it. So, how do you feel about tonight?
she just kind of shrugs. If you want to make a perception empathy roll, or if you'd like me to roll
Okay,
a
that's
number of dice for you.
because I'm a pussy ass bitch with no laptop. Yeah, can I have 6 dice, please?
Yep. I'll give you one.
Yeah,
She looks kind of queasy.
you sure? You look a bit pallid.
She just kind of shrugs. Despite where I come from, I never quite got used to the violence.
Comes with the territory, I'm afraid. New York City, you dig? I mean, I heard something happened in Baltimore, but no, New York City's the front line. In honesty, I'm surprised you came here.
She shrugs. I was assigned here.
Well placed.
What's that?
Said well placed.
I didn't stick around for long. Did everybody make it back okay?
Haven't heard from Monroe yet.
Oh, where did you last see her?
She went overboard, by the looks of things. Now, I don't think that thing followed her because I could feel him on the boat. But I'm hoping it's just our phone's wet. You dig?
Yeah, probably. What do you mean you could feel him?
I've come across it before. The presence works on the other two just fine, but with him, it had an effect where it backfired. It happened once when I came across, well, a Sabbat Inquisitor from out of town. It backfired, so I was drawn to him. You dig?
She sort of raises an eyebrow, makes a actually rolls Tremere or lore because out of character I know what this is. She makes a mental note to research that later, but nothing seems to sort of click in her head.
So yeah, happened again. The idea was that Monroe stayed, well, in the shadows, as it were. Nosferatu are incredibly hard to find when they're used with that particular gift, but didn't anticipate her getting hit.
Sometimes other gifts are stronger than that gift. She frowns. Probably should have told us to stay close. Not that I'm implying that was your fault, but
Oh no.
hindsight is 2020, you know?
Cool. Fool me twice. But without sounding cold, war is war. You've taken a couple of casualties, but we've taken a lot more of theirs. I expect that pattern will hold out.
I suppose so, as long as we don't get too cocky.
Can't afford to get cocky. They're too smart for that. Bastards.
Did you actually manage to secure the weapons?
Couldn't find anything. I think it might have been, how to say, indirect.
What do you mean?
But, well, weapon shipment, reinforcements.
Ah, they were the weapons.
Unfortunately, we didn't take any in any state to be woken up. And I've got a feeling we let the most troublesome one go.
Do you know anything else about the one that escaped?
Well, clearly, he can disappear, can move from one place to another rapidly. Presence is a risky move against him. Claims to be some sort of magician. Now I'm wondering. Nah, it'd be too obvious.
What?
For him to be one of yours, a lot of kindred can claim to be magicians with the powers they have. That would be too much of an assumption. What is it that Sherlock Holmes said? It's critical error to theorize before one has data. But we do know his name.
You do?
Yeah.
Are you going to share?
I've actually forgotten it out of character. I'm going to have to recheck the scene. It's like the Magnificent Davron or something.
Something like that.
And I know what he looks like. I remember once before when we had this problem, Tremere went inside my mind and got the image of the person, and they did their thing and we tried to track him down.
Could be a rogue thaumaturge. From what I heard, the Nosferatu in the sewers was one as well, which means that somebody in the Sabbat is loose-lipped, or believes sharing is caring.
Sorry, what was that?
There seem to be a lot of rogue thaumaturges in the Sabbat, which means somebody believes sharing is caring.
Oh, I know you lot are usually quite, shall we say, selective regarding your particular abilities.
We are very stingy. She smiles.
It's clever. Stops the market from being saturated. I wonder if the Sabbat care about such things.
No, from what I'm gathering, the main thing the Sabbat care about is screwing us over for some reason.
And it's our job to fuck them first.
She doesn't really respond to that.
Xenobrusia came out, forgive me.
So, what is the next step? There is still supposedly a weapon on the loose.
Well, I'm wondering if we can try and track him, and I'm wondering if we can secure me in a location, I can carry on trying to summon him. I'm sure I can break through eventually. That'll take time and effort.
You're going to attempt that again after it backfired already?
Yeah, but if I'm in a room and can't get out, then there's no way of me getting to him.
If you're in the room and how is he supposed to get in?
Well, that's the point. We launch an ambush outside. We use it as a lure, essentially. But that's a pretty risky plan. I'd prefer to track him via slightly more subtle methods.
There are some ways to track him.
In that case, we need to investigate those avenues. In the meantime, we need to pump that Nosferatu for information.
She nods. Have you learned anything from the Nosferatu yet? Has he been awakened?
No. I'm a rather busy man and I might have to get someone else to do it. No, I never did trust other people handling the interrogations.
Really?
What can I say? It's in my nature.
She nods. I suppose it pays to be paranoid.
Then we tighten our hold on the few influences we hold in Stanton. My contacts there want to meet, so that's always a good sign. And from what I understand, Justinian is working on bringing the police force back, back into the fold.
What about your local influences?
The heat is slowly rising. Well, dropping, I might say.
I
I'm
read,
back at full.
I read the news. The mayor seemed very intent on weeding out corruption, I believe was the word.
Well, that's why I've suddenly lost a few contacts of mine within the police department. Nothing that I can't get back easily.
She nods.
The main things I need to worry about are where my strengths lie. Keep my hold on the streets, which are, thankfully for now, back at full capacity. And, well, the underworld. It could use a little work, but, well, I like to think I've planted the right seeds.
She nods.
What about you?
I'm not entirely sure. I do better when given the goal. Given the goal. No. Somebody says
Well,
accomplish this, I can accomplish it. Not as good as being left to my own devices.
in that case, we need to tighten our hold on the unions of the city. Gas workers, sewer workers.
She nods. It shouldn't be too hard.
I'll probe into that area as well. We'll see what we can do.
Sorry.
That's okay. You alright?
Yeah.
Okay.
Has has your primogen returned to us?
What was that?
Has your primogen returned to us?
She certainly is.
Is she okay?
Seems to be. I think the Tremere are clearing things up. He sort of cocks his head almost to say, like, didn't you know that?
She doesn't really respond. Yeah.
Oh, perception, empathy.
Okay.
Fuck.
You don't get anything. Fucking cryptic ass Tremere.
Fucking Tremere. Okay. Sort of looks you up and down. Yeah, no. In fact, if you could ask the region about that for me.
I'll see what I can do.
Thank you.
So, have you seen the Toreador since we all
Which
disbanded?
Toreador?
Mercy.
No.
He seemed to be a wreck after she sort of trails off. He is
His
not.
eyes. Sorry.
He
After you.
doesn't seem to be very battle hardened. You may wish to check in with him.
If that's what you feel you should do, personally, I think it will be good for him. I realise that sounds cold, but I think this will help him understand.
Well, keep in mind morale is very important to a war effort.
It is. I'll make sure he gets his just rewards. After all, everything you can say about him, he's ballsy.
Little too ballsy.
A little too ballsy. I'm hoping this might knock some sense into him, otherwise steps might have to be taken. But let's see what this does for him first.
What kind of steps?
Hmm?
What kind of steps?
I've warned him casually so far. It'll be a case of sitting him down, asking him what's up with him, where he's at, and then telling him where we're at.
She nods. From what I noticed, a little overconfident, doesn't think before he acts, bit insubordinate. Not sure about power hungry anymore because he was willing to give up the knife. So she shrugs. That's good.
Well, that's one annoyance out of the way at least. But it's the insubordination that worries me. Unfortunately, I do have an image to maintain, and if that gets pushed, then it can be bad for everyone.
But you don't want to seem like a tyrant either, you know?
No, exactly. Hence the dilemma. In honesty, don't get me wrong, I like to think I can put the frightness on people, but it's not really my style.
Well, when I talked to him, he seemed to think that you were incompetent as a sheriff. Perhaps this mission would solidify his faith in you.
Hopefully. When you say incompetent, what exactly was he saying?
She kind of shrugs. I don't remember in perfect detail. Most of it seemed to be typical stereotypes of your clan.
It's good they underestimate us.
Yeah, use that to your advantage. You know, you let your enemy think that you're stupid, or let them think that you aren't strong, and then they don't prepare for the case where you are. Typical misdirection.
Bloody hell, you are a Tremere.
Keeping that in mind may help with the war effort as well.
So, what would you recommend for Mr. Mercy? Just out of interest.
Not sure. If most soldiers actually go through training that sort of strips away their own identity. I wouldn't call it the best way to do things, but you don't want him to see you as his friend because then he'll think you can get away with some shit. But you don't want him to see you as the tyrant either because then he will grow resentful. You know?
I dig. Fine balance to strike.
Yeah, carrot and stick.
Hmm?
Yeah, carrot and stick.
Carrot and stick, baby. Well, we'll see. I'll have a word. And finally, you've got a mind for this sort of thing. Tonight, what would you have done differently?
Well, you did a good job in finding an isolated place to summon the victims in. for lack of a better word. But the problem is that in choosing the boat, you also basically trapped your allies, which could have gone very poorly, especially seeing as one of them had the ability to go unseen, and none of us could see him again. That had he wanted to, it would have been very possible for him to begin isolating us and picking us off one by one. We had no clear escape route in the event of an emergency.
You're right. You're right.
On top of that, while the ambushing was a good plan, I feel like relying too much upon supernatural powers like that may prove to be a problem, especially if this last one has the ability to turn that back on you.
He nods. He's listening intently.
He's thinking. There was also there was good organization in the beginning, but when things got hairy, it kind of broke down, you know? And it left some of the weaker members, myself and Monroe, potentially unguarded. As I said, certain powers can defeat things like the Nosferatu's ability to be invisible. And if there was no backup plan in place, that sort of mistake or lack of consideration could prove deadly. That's all I can think of off the top of my head. I'm afraid I did not take video of the event to analyze.
Probably for the best. Thank you.
Ah, no problem. I think perhaps you have this Kotori set up specifically for war, right?
Yes.
Well, why not train them? Some basic maneuvers, how to work together to play with each other's strengths and with each other's weaknesses.
Oh, I was never a general. But you're right. You're right. We've got the range set up. We've got Emily for the combat.
It's just way more effective if they know each other better than they seem to. They seem to be friends at the moment, which is all well and good, but they should intimately know each other's strengths and weaknesses so that they can cover for each other better. You know?
Synchronized. I do.
Yeah.
That's very good advice.
She smiles. You know that white cat sticker? That.
Yeah. Aw. Well, in that case, thanks for coming and seeing me. How you feeling?
He shrugs. Like I said, not used to being on the front lines, but she doesn't finish that sentence.
He looks her up and down with something that looks like it might be sort of empathy or sympathetically. You need to feed?
No, I still have some blood stored away, thanks. Are you okay?
Hmm?
Are you okay?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm always okay. Go on then. Off you pop. Hello?
Or with 4 successes on perception empathy.
Huh? Oh,
Is
sorry, dude. You broke up. What was that?
with 4 successes on perception empathy, is he really always okay?
No. Oh, let me do a subterfuge because he's got an image to maintain.
How many?
That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You beat her.
He looks at you calmly and confidently and nods once. Takes a puff of his cigarette. Yeah, I've been in this a while. I can handle it.
She nods, if you say so.
Well, good night, Lauren.
Yeah, good night. And she'll get up and head towards the door. By the way, you did do a good job tonight, despite the criticisms I had. Good job, Sheriff. And she'll sort of smile.
So, he's.
And, hmm?
Hmm? Oh, I'm gonna say he sort of like when she closes the door, like he gets up and locks it and uh, lingers by the door for a while and then goes back down and sort of drapes himself across the bed and starts smoking this spliff. And sort of smiles and nods to himself, which is then replaced by like a mournful, bored glare at the ceiling. And as he nods his head to the rhythm and waits for the sun to come, I suppose.
That's where we can end our scene. Thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching.